This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Watch the greenbacks tumble.
Everyone all set? Cocked? Locked? Here we go. Your dial set correctly to USAPrepares.com, and we're broadcasting 2 hours daily from high atop the Missouri Ozark Mountains. There's a link to your instructors on the website, USAPrepares.com. Podcasts are free. So if you'd like to share this broadcast with friends and family, just go to USAPrepares.com. Converging threats, confronted daily. I'm your instructor, Vincent Finelli. With me is senior instructor, Dr. Richard Allen Miller. Welcome, Rick.
Good morning. I've had some very interesting morning. By the way, I'm getting laryngitis, just like I did when I came back from from Australia. You know, Ziggy's, I pumped it out. There went my voice.
Hey, Rick, you had a maximum size class there. You filled the meetup, and you talked about structured water. And Rick, I couldn't get over it because you could project to the entire restaurant without a microphone. I couldn't get over it. I can't do it. I cannot do it. And,
well, there's hell to pay. Here I am. No voice.
Hey, Rick, I noticed something. It's quiet at the farm now.
You mean the dogs aren't barking and the chickens aren't pooping, or what?
No, what I mean is it's different without you here. It's not the same. We miss you. I just want to tell you, the entire family misses.
Also, I actually really like it out there. Other than your ticks, that's a crazy way to live.
Well, it keeps the riffraff out, you know, having those ticks. We have an army. We have several armies of ticks, all different sizes and shapes.
Sizes and colors, I know.
Yeah. Hey, Rick, I was in the kitchen. I thought, Dr. Shealy, he would probably say it's okay if I had a piece of chocolate, So I went in the kitchen. Did you find the chocolate bowl?
I find chocolate cures everything.
Yeah. Okay. I was just wondering because Hey, Rick, we're gonna talk about water today. There are 4 phases of water.
Yeah, you bet. When you mentioned that Norm and you and several others were having harassments, I encountered several this morning, and so I know that someone out there is listening. And guess what? I got my thing done without hassle or distraction. My website is down. My email is down. And this is why is my website down? And there it is. It's down. And yet my other websites aren't down. Notice that I'm being harassed now. Not a big deal. And I'm not allowing it to affect my emotional landscape, my inner part, and as a result, you'll notice that you got your emails that I was trying to send with no email browser. It'll come in from several different sideways. I have some backdoors of my own, and I don't know who's doing it. It is with intent because it did happen. It did happen this morning, and yet you do, and did get those emails because it says so. Would you confirm that with me that you got them? And if you did, that tells the persons who's trying to harass right this moment. It didn't work. And not only did it not work, I set it on the air. It didn't work. And I am feeling really good that I was not distracted like I could have been. There are many different ways I could have approached and handled what just happened, and here I am.
Well, Rick, yeah, we are getting harassed, and I had a.
Did you get my
really,
emails? That's
yes,
the part
I did.
I want to confirm.
I got them.
There it is. Read it and leap. You're not that good hacker.
Yeah.
And while you think you can do it, it didn't work. And it's time for you to move on.
Rick, let me share a couple things with you. I was talking with the general manager.
That did just happen. It wouldn't send. And what I did, even before the show, because I wanted to make sure you had it, I did 2 other different ways. So you probably got the email from 3 different sources, 2 sources. I know for a fact it came in. I can confirm it at my end. But, this is not going to stop us.
Oh, no. Rick, I want you to know I do have the emails. And, class, it's something that I'm going to post on our website. Rick's website is down. So I'm going to post it on usapreparedness.com, and we're going to be talking about structured water and things that you need to know. So these posts will be on the website. I'll try to get them done.
That's when you asked me if I had backup on my different, articles and things that I had in my computer. Absolutely. I even have some secret backdoors so that when and if they try to slow it down, stop it, or whatever, it doesn't. And now it's out, and you've got it. That means other people have got it. It's in print. It's a done deal.
Class, a number of us at USA Prepares, we come from all over the country. And a number of us have had the police called on us, as I've told you before. A number of us have been arrested for all kinds of weird reasons. I mean, nothing that makes any sense at all. A number of us get harassed by the police. And so, I get disconnected when I'm broadcasting to Genesis Communications. I would get disconnected. Whenever I would say, okay, I'm going to give you that number right after the break, so get ready, I'm going to give you that number, boom, off I'd go. So it does happen. It's happening to Rick. It's happening to a lot of us here at USA Prepares. And I wanted to share this conversation with you, Rick. I was talking with the general manager of one of our affiliates, Big Country 99, last night. And he said, Vinny, it's absolutely true. I mean, if you think about it, you have an expo, and then you have 3 inches of snow and sleet and rain in a 70-degree day. Then you have a meetup, and you go to City Hall in Springfield to get fluoride out of the water. You publicize it, you announce it weeks in advance, and there's a tornado right then and there. I mean, like right at the time of the meeting, there's a tornado in Springfield, Missouri. And it wasn't, we weren't expecting a tornado the day before or even the morning of that meeting. And then you have your next expo, which was the one we had last weekend, and we were pummeled by rain, and it was like one of those pictures, Rick, that you look at on the news, and you see a hurricane, and the rain is going sideways. The leaves of the trees and the branches are going 90 degrees from the ground. It's sideways. Horrendous rain and high winds and pounding on the roof. We had all that, and it was just a 5-mile swath that went right over the Get Prepared Expo, and then. You add that to the emails that people say, yeah, I sent you an email, and don't you ever call me back? I go, well, I didn't get the email. So this stuff happens a lot.
It's happening here. I have, for the last 5 trips, your first Lebanon, then Chattanooga, then Australia, and this Lebanon, every single moment, I have not had real email. It has broken down. And I have had a computer nerd that has not been responding to my calls. And yet I saw him driving around town today. After this phone call, I'm going to do a confrontation. I hate doing confrontations because it's really not healthy. to have to hassle causes illness. And that's the message that I'm hoping that everybody gets on the importance of your internet landscape. That's chapter 13 that I sent you. I sent you chapters 8 through 13 that talks about the enteric nervous system. Now, here's the bad news. 2 days ago, guess who? Monsanto just bought Blackwater. They have their own largest private army in the world. Monsanto just did that. Imagine that.
That's striking news. Absolutely striking. And, you know,
It's
nobody...
all over the net. They just purchased Blackwater, and they have pictures with the armed and dangerous. Now, you tell me why they did that, and realize that my articles right now, right here, right now, are talking about Monsanto and the weaponization of epigenetics. They're not even trying to make you obese anymore. They're going after your great-granddaughter, and that is the plan.
Rick, let's talk about the... let me just say this very quickly. You know, we're talking about harassment. Here's a story that kind of ties with that, and it's posted on our website, and it says KY3 KYTV missed a huge story. Did they just drop the ball? KY3 did not cover the Get Prepared Expo last weekend. Vincent Finelli was shocked and surprised that the local Get Prepared Expo, the largest survival and preparedness expo in the USA, was not covered by KY3 News. Did KY3 just drop the ball? The event was considered important to Glenn Beck. He posted it on his website, theblaze.com. Glenn Beck listed it as the number 3 on his website, and there's a link to the website. Finelli is a nationally syndicated broadcaster and the owner of Get Prepared Expo. On July 19th...
to me like they're ready to possibly negotiate a damage control with you rather than letting the public realize they were bought off.
Wow.
How's that one for challenge in their face? I am being treated like this as well. Delayed flights, all of it is distractions. And that's all they are. And I have many, many ways I could approach how to face this. There are better ways than others.
Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. I'll just finish this little post, and then we're going to get into the epigenetics, weapons of epigenetics. You're not going to believe it when we come back. I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding. Rick Miller's with us, and I'd like to finish this little post on the website, USAPrepares.com, because the largest television station in Springfield, in the Ozarks, did not cover the Get Prepared Expo. And I'm wondering why. So here's some of the rest of that article. Finelli's a nationally syndicated broadcaster and the owner of the Get Prepared Expo. On July 19 through 21 of 2013, the Get Prepared Expo offered 56 one-hour seminars presented by world leaders in their respective fields. 56 one-hour seminars were presented. Scholarships were offered to anyone who asked for one. Teachers and their families were admitted free. Is that enough in itself to be put on KY3's news? Finelli's puzzled. 11 talk show hosts were present. The Get Prepared Expo was covered by KLOR television in Springfield, and then it goes on to talk about the seminars like cancer treatment and learning to think like a Navy SEAL and how to restore your health, and it goes on and on and on about some of the seminars. And then it says here's what the Lebanon Daily Record, a newspaper, had to say about the Get Prepared Expo. There aren't many places you can buy a gun, learn to make perfect salsa, and study alternative cancer therapies all at the same time, under the sacred blessing of a Nemenhah chief. Lebanon's second Get Prepared Expo is scheduled for this weekend at the Cowan Civic Center in Lebanon. Organizer Vincent Finelli, radio talk show host and local resident, brought the world's largest survivalism and preparedness expo to town for the first time in April. 52 seminars and about 60 exhibits will be available for Expo patrons, covering everything from water purification and emergency medicine to raising rabbit and foam block building. Finelli is excited that for the first time that the Expo may be blessed by a Nemenhah chief, making the Cowan Civic Center consecrated ground for the 3-day event. Chief Cloudpiler of the Nemenhah will be there at the Friday night dinner right at the Civic Center. He'll be doing a blessing of the meal, and we're going to ask if we should consecrate the convention as sacred, Finelli said. Now, if we do that, we can limit access to the convention by the government by treaty. We can have a sign at the door that says if you're with the government, you can apply to come in. Just fill out the application, and we'll get to it very quickly, probably within a couple weeks. Anyway, it says that previous expos have been plagued by various federal agencies snooping around, Finelli said. His intent is to make that a violation of the United States treaties with the Native Americans. So anyway, the bottom line is we put the government on notice, and the biggest television station who we advertise with decided not to cover it, or they dropped the ball, one or the other. It can only be one of those two things. So I wanted to share that with you. Rick, all kinds of things are happening to us to put obstacles in our way of sharing this information and getting people prepared for their own survival at every single level.
Well, the way you get it started is some of the people I met, like Grace and Karen and Liz, all of you can be proactive by writing a simple letter to Genesis Radio and to the newspaper asking why they did not cover this thing. That's how you become number two. We have a similar newspaper here locally. It's extremely political, and there are certain things they won't cover, even though everybody knows about them. Like the Occupy movement, they'll try to not even talk about it, and yet there's a couple hundred people out in front of the post office. It starts with public opinion. And here's the cool news. It only takes 5% to change things now. It used to be 10%. If you don't want Walmart in your neighborhood, it takes only 5% of people that are actively using Walmart to stop using Walmart, and it will collapse. This is a wonderful news media thing that everybody needs to realize. If there's something wrong and you're participating in that system, all you have to do is just say no. If you did that with a newspaper, they'll get that message in a heartbeat.
Well, Rick, I can tell you this, that one of our instructors, David Klotz, used to work for Walmart. He exposed them on my broadcast, usaprepares.com. in the afternoon, on the afternoon broadcast. And the next thing we know, he's fired. The next day he's fired. And shortly thereafter, Vinny's off the air. No kidding. And all the other pansies in Springfield, all the other pansy broadcasters, they're afraid to touch it. They're afraid to talk about Walmart taking over Springfield. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, and we're going to talk about epigenetics. Rick, why don't we define what epigenetics is, and we'll talk about how it can be weaponized, or what weaponization of epigenetics is.
That is, in our DNA, we have a supercode. We know that the DNA has it's like a three-dimensional hologram of force space. That means that in the structure of the DNA, it defines who we were, who we are, and who we will be. But now we've discovered epigenetics. There is a secondary supercode. For example, the gene that's in this little piece right here knows that it came from mom rather than from dad. And that gene, by knowing that, creates a series of possibilities of illnesses that are in this direction when it comes from mom as opposed to coming from dad, which allows these kinds of diseases to happen. And the fact that we now can trace what the gene crossings are. That part is called epigenetics, and what it means is that it can predetermine who your great-great-grandchild will be and how she or he will behave. And that is called, it's like a supercode, and it's called, the new term is epigenetics. Now, with that said, that means that now Monsanto and others, I mean, there's a list of them, they're in the articles. If you start with Chapter 8, I've given you Chapter 8 through 13 to post. I'm writing Chapter 14 right now. But Chapter 8 starts with the enteric nervous system, or the first brain in man. In my newest book that I'm writing right now, The Non-Local Mind in a Holographic Universe, that will have a whole chapter on how these things will affect future generations, and what the arming and weaponization of epigenetics means is that they are now altering genes in wheat, having nothing to do with Roundup Ready or mutation of making the corn different. What they're doing now is going after your great-grandchildren. They've already ruined you. 1 in 3 people in this country right now is obese. And that's not fat, obese. And that's the first stage of the weaponization, where now they're going to go after your children, your grandchildren, and your great-grandchildren that have not even been born yet. They're purposefully getting fluorides into our food system, the chemtrails that are dropping barium and aluminum oxide. Much of this is now being done with total intent in changing the human race into 2 different kinds of subspecies. And they are doing this with full intent as the first stages of weaponizing foods.
Rick, what you just said, I hope our class was paying attention to.
Oh, they'll get it. The article runs it down, chapters and verse. You just go ahead and put them up. That ought to take care of it. They'll get it.
You're talking
and if
about...
they don't, read the article again. Each time you hear me, each time you hear me say the same things, you get a little bit more, because I am speaking on a lot of levels. I'm military. I did this for military. I am now uncovering these truths for military, and military is outraged because it is no longer about the military. It's about 1% trying to control everything through the military. And guess what? Monsanto just did. Read it and weep.
Rick, I know you pretty well. We've been close for about a year, maybe over a year. I can hear the anger in your voice.
Well,
stronger.
Even with knowledge, good luck with that. That's why man does not have free will. He only has true will. He does not have full disclosure. And, of course, many of the scientists at Monsanto think that they're doing the right thing by modifying wheat and other things so they can feed the world. But already the prime directive is there are too many people in the world. So why would they want to create more food? And what they're actually doing is causing mutations in the food chain so that they can direct and create a more subservient. That's why they're dumbing down America. That's why they're, the whole thing is crazy, and people like me that are worried about how to make their daily rent are being harassed with things like email trying to communicate to you, to give you these concepts. It's not going to work because, in fact, man he's blessed. He is God's favored. And let me tell you, the 1% is going to eventually crash and burn. It doesn't matter how big an army they have. It doesn't work like that. And that's the other part of the whole equation. Once you take personal responsibility for your own evolution, now the game is over.
Rick, I want to share something with you. I was talking with the general manager, as I mentioned before, of a 30,000 watt station that we're on in the Ozarks, right here in Missouri. And he asked me, he said, "You've got 2 hours. When would you like to be on?" And now, remember, this is a country station, a country and western and crossover music. And I said, "I'd like to be on from midnight to 2 a.m." And I think he was a little bit surprised. And I said, "I want to reach a totally different class, a totally different audience.
Broader demographics."
Well, I talked to him last night, and we've been doing it for a very short time. He's been getting calls. People love what we do. He's absolutely shocked that people who used to listen to music are now listening to you and me talking about the kinds of things we talk about, Rick. It's waking up a lot of people, and I think that's why we're having so many problems. That's why the media is doing a blackout on us. That's why, well, anyway.
Well, some media.
Well, some media, right.
So there it is.
Right,
You're a little,
yeah, but
John Connor, out in the middle of nowhere, broadcasting from a bunker.
Yeah, well, Rick, so you mentioned why create more food. That point is so succinct. Why create more food?
There's too many people in the world, and the prime directive is they've got to limit population. What they did first is they used transgenic soybean, and they put birth control in the transgenic soybean and fed it to India. It worked. Now they're using that on our wild horses in Utah and Arizona. The bottom line is that's 10 years ago. We're feeding our basic, they're growing. The immunization that you would normally take from a needle, like with children to, make them autistic, they're now putting that in the food itself, and it goes directly from the table into your mouth, and you have just been, quote, immunized for things you don't need to have done. It's insidious. People, they offer free shots. Now, they don't even need to do that. They put it directly in the food itself. They grow it inside the soybean, and actually, in this case, it's sunflowers. Sunflowers now are where all your vaccines are being grown. They're grown in the plant itself because it's cheaper to just extract it from sunflowers than it is to modify it in a laboratory artificially. It's going to get a bumpy ride, and it's now time for everybody to realize that there's way more going on here. And when Monsanto bought Blackwater, why is that?
Rick, during World War II, it was obvious that if a person was killed, if one of the enemy was killed, it's just one person down. But if you wounded one of the enemy, it took two other people to help that person. So now you took 3 people out of circulation. And when you talked about just a couple seconds ago about autism, that's what autism's doing, Rick. It's taking the entire family down. When one person becomes autistic, it financially destroys the family, and it occupies...
That's a very valid point.
It occupies all the attention. I mean, how does mom go to work? How does dad go to work? How do they... I mean, they're a whole... It's very much like having a terminally ill patient at home about ready to die, and it can linger for months, but it shuts the whole family down. Everybody is you can't go to work when you're in that situation.
As one of the first lines of defense with autism is to change your viewpoint. For example, I met Temple Grandin, and there's nothing wrong with her. In fact, her autism is a gift. And so just by subtly looking at the internal landscape of how you choose to see what's going on, as autism is a wonderful gift, it means that person is different and can do things other people can't. For example, Liz, that I met at your place, I'm guessing she can grow bedding plants better than a master gardener. I watched her go through the show, and she would tangent off to straighten something out or to make it more correct from a social point of view. She was more aware of things that are not quite right than you are. Now, you tell me that that's handicapped?
There you go. Dr. Richard Allen Miller, physicist, Navy SEAL Team 1. He developed the superfoods for the astronauts, taught the Navy SEALs how to think. We're talking about epigenetics. We're in trouble. We'll be right back. Class, Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us, talking about epigenetics. And Rick, I want to underscore a point. We've said this before, but I just realized during the break what we did. When we had the sacred ceremony consecrating the Get Prepared Expo by Chief Cloudpiler, we posted on the doors, all the doors to the city-owned property, that if any government employee trespassed without our permission, they violated the treaty. But they were individually, we let them know that they were individually responsible for their own actions. And here's why I'm bringing this up. This is really the main point. Does any one of us listening right now, does any one of us know a single, let me say it a different way, a single government employee who would want to be personally responsible for his or her own actions? Do you know one? Do you know one that would say, you know what, I'll take this upon myself and I will do this because I think it's what we should do here in the office? Can you think of one government employee that would ever do that? The answer is no. Government employees hide behind the full force of the government. They will not take individual responsibility. They will not make a decision. They'll say, you know what, the rules say that we should do this, but you know what, I think in this case we'll bend the rules. That never happens. That never happens. Government employees do not take individual responsibility for anything. Nothing. That's why not a single government employee dared to be on the grounds of the Get Prepared Expo as consecrated sacred by Chief Cloudpiler. And I have my documents right here. I received them in the mail. I am a, let's see, it says, it certifies that Vincent Finelli, I've been spiritually adopted as a medicine person, a traditional leader of Nemenhah, the Native American Church of Nemenhah. So I am Nemenhah. I am a Native American medicine man, and I am going to consecrate the farm today. So I'm just putting everyone on notice that if you're a government employee, you're going to need...
You know what you're doing? When you do rituals, that celebrates the myth. That's why he said the actual ritual itself was essential. Basically, you're changing the emotional, intellectual, and archetypal landscapes. When you do something physical like that, it literally has repercussions all the way up the hologram. It is why I am going to suggest that the importance of ritual, when you did that, it changes the entire tone of things within yourself. And that's what it's really about. It isn't about other people. It's about yourself and the way you relate to what you're doing. Intentionality.
Mm-hmm. Rick, I have the public servants public servants questionnaire in my hands, and Public Law 93-579 states in part the purpose of this act is to provide certain safeguards for an individual against invasion of personal privacy by requiring federal agencies to permit an individual to determine what records pertaining to him are collected, maintained, used, and disseminated among agencies. So we have this form that we had, and nobody needed to fill it out because no government employee came to the expo. But it says here, full legal name. So this is the public servant information. Full legal name, residence address, city, state, zip. And then department information. The name of the department, the bureau, the agency in which the public servant is employed, and the city, state, and zip. And then the supervisor's name. And then the mailing address, city, state, zip. And then, will the public servant uphold the Constitution of the United States? Yes or no? Did the public servant furnish proof of identity? What was the nature of the proof? It goes on for 3 pages. I'm going to post this on the website. So if you need it, you'll be able to get it, print it out, carry it with you. So if you encounter a public servant who wants information from you, you say, sure, I'd be glad to. Just fill us out, and then we can get right down to business. Dr. Richard Allen Miller, Vin Finelli, USAPrepares.com. We'll be right back, and we're going to talk more about epigenetics, and we're going to talk about structured water. We'll be right back.
This is your call to action. Get prepared, America. Economy, survival, energy, disasters. This is USAPrepares.com. Informative radio, educational radio. Interact now by emailing instructor@USAPrepares.com or text at 434-390-7953. Class, please take your seats. Now, your instructor, Vincent Finelli.
Everyone all set, cocked, locked. Hour number 2, USAPrepares.com. You know, I was listening to the top of the hour news, and it seems to me like Eric Snowden, the analyst who disclosed the secret spying by the NSA on all of us, is the Paul Revere of our day. Eric Snowden is the Paul Revere of our day. He's caused a lot of problems for the government because the government is out of control. They are wrong. They want to know everything about you. They want to know every movement that you make. They want to track you by your phone. They want to track you by your emails. They want to track your shopping habits. They want to know what you buy. They want to know everything about you. Sounds evil to me because although I would like to know a lot about a lot of things, I don't know what I don't want to know what my neighbor's personal habits are. I don't want to know. I'm not interested. And I'm sure you're not either. Eric Snowden, the Paul Revere of our day. Meet up Monday, 5:30, Ziggy's, Springfield. What are we going to talk about? Reloading. Reloading ammunition. Rifle cartridges. Pistol cartridges. Shotgun cartridges. We're going to talk about how to reload ammunition. The components, the presses, the equipment involved, the costs, the savings, what happens, how it works, the safeguards that you need to take. And we're going to show a video. And we're going to talk about how to do it. We've got some experts on board who are going to teach a class on reloading. Ziggy's, 5:30, Springfield, Missouri. And tomorrow, 2 hours. 2 hours of building an AR-15 right here, USAPrepares.com. Jeff Holmes is going to be with us. We're going to take it from the bottom to the top. It's going to be in-depth. And Rick, you and I talked about this in the car, and we spent a lot of time talking about the future of the Get Prepared Expo and our direction in the radio broadcast. And
I just sent you an email on that exact subject just now.
Okay. I did not. Well,
I'm anticipating it. It all is good.
Well, here's what we talked about, Rick, you and I. And by the way, class, Rick and I are very, 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 very close. Seriously. seriously. And we talked about the expo, and we had the worst turnout we've ever had at the Get Prepared
I
Expo.
didn't think it was very bad. Everybody I met was enthusiastic and had a good time and wants more. So really, it wasn't so much about the turnout. It is the quality of their minds wanting to know more.
Well, you're absolutely right, Rick.
Because of the newspaper, Lebanon. Most of your people would have come from Lebanon. Springfield is, I don't like it either. There's some other possibilities on where and how and why you offer what you do. And it won't be very long before it will become a serious movement like it is in Europe. Because really, that's what Nexus and whom I write for is all about. But you know, Sam Bushman has picked up the Sovereign, he reads it, and yet he didn't know who I was because guess what? He hadn't really read it yet. You know, one of my producers on my book had not read my New Directions on Mind Control until last night, and it blew her away. It's like we get so caught up in our day-to-days, we lose sight of what's going on around us. Water turns out to be even more important than food. And when I say that, in Jungian psychotherapy, it would suggest that all illnesses are how you dialogue with your higher self, how the higher self communicates to normal conscious. This part of consciousness is called the emotional body and is part of that running the show of the physical body. The physical body is just along for the ride. Once, I can give you examples on that. For example, I had a little girl die of leukemia when I was 60 years old. What that caused me to do was have to write more books. And that's what I should have been doing. It was, in other words, her dying forced me to do my purpose here on earth and helped me understand. It wasn't a bad thing. It's a good thing because look at all the books I produced in the last 4 months. And between now and December, I have 10 more diverse titles that are coming out. They can't stop me. The books are already written. Good luck with them trying to shoot me, cut my email off, delay my flights, whatever. The thing is, it's already, I understand the principles of it. Once normal consciousness gets the message that the higher self is trying, the trials and tribulations that we're led to, there's no need for sickness. It will simply disappear like a cold or a bruise as a duration of memory. Time is not real. Your purpose, your calling, your character, those are real. And that's what it's all about. In a metaphor, you could have said that you were like an alien and you came here to do something grand for God. And basically, one of the things you had to do is surrender your memory so that your character was developed. And once you get the message of why you're being harassed or delayed, now it's taking the path of least resistance. I got my emails out to you today, and I did it without having to fight like I used to when I was a young boy. What I did was, I said, oh, that means I'm supposed to do it that way, not this way. And guess what happened? You can't be stopped. It's not about that. You have divine right. All of us have a purpose here. And the illnesses that we encounter, the hassles we encounter, are the way the higher self communicates to us on how to flow and be in the sync of things. And water in your body is why it has memory. We're going to talk about that later, but the idea is your thoughts create the reality. And if you want to fight, then guess what? You'll have an enemy to fight. If you don't want to fight, you want it to be simple and easy, it will be with that thought.
Rick, here's where I was going. With this broadcast and with the expo, I was extremely disappointed with the turnout. Now, the turnout, we had thousands of people. I expected possibly between 8 and 12,000. We had
That would have been nice, but
we had less than that. We had a little less than 3,000. Now, it's still the largest expo in the country. It really is. But what I didn't understand was, with all of the experts that we had, with all of the information, the 450 radio commercials, the 100,000 impressions on the Weather Channel about, Get Prepared Expo, with the 100,000 newspaper ads and print ads that we had, the quarter-page ads, the half-page ads, when you put all that together, and then the months of discussing what we were going to do, plus the Facebook, plus the emails, and put it all together, less than 3,000 people came over 2 days. Yeah, we did have a torrential storm.
Every single one of them was inflamed.
Yeah, well, here's the point.
Inflamed with they're basically what I would have called true seekers. They want something more.
Mm-hmm. So here's the point. You and I discussed this, and we decided, okay, here's the plan. Okay, so we're not going to appeal to the masses. Forget them. Just forget them. Now it sounds cold and heartless, but after over 2 years of trying to get them to understand what's happening, we and people say to me, let's talk about gasoline consumption for generators. Let's talk about starting fires with preserving matches for 20 years. Let's talk about these low level things. No, we're done. We're done with that. What we're going to do is, starting today, we have decided that we are going to go to the next level. We are going to increase your vocabulary. We're going to increase your IQ, and you're going to have homework. Now, if you want to stay with us, that's great. We are delighted. But if you're lazy, you're going to get left in the dust, and you're probably going to tune us out because
everybody's going to have to come to the party. If you choose not to do it this lifetime, don't worry, we'll make more, like Dorito corn chips, until you take personal, and each one of us has to do this. That's why you're here. And if you don't like it, revision your whole situation. Tell you this, everything happens for a reason. Everything leads to something better. With that alone, you change the internal landscape and the water up against each organ. And that alone will allow you to live longer than 120 years. Why? It's amazing. With all the pain and stress, you live to 100. Now imagine what would happen if you restructured the water in your body simply like a moto would do with your thoughts.
Yep. And when you're talking about moving up to the next level, Rick, we're probably going to be limiting the next Get Prepared Expo to just 500 people. We will be imposing the limits.
It's okay. And the bottom line is you need DVDs, you need articles like the ones I've given you to upload, and so that people can take their time and do it in the privacy of their needs in home. Most people are so stressed out right now on how to make next month's rent that they don't even think about it. And with the assault of television and the media, as Sam Bushman put it, media, if you control the media, you control the rules.
Well, Rick, let's talk
Genesis
about...
has an opportunity here, by the way.
You're right. Sam Bushman's one of us. He really is. And he's a USAPrepares.com instructor. Rick, let's talk about water. Now, on the website, I posted some homework for you, class. Rick sent it to me, and I posted it on the website. And I will post his articles that he just sent me on the website today, so you get a chance to read them. And I'll keep them on page one for quite a while.
You know why we're doing this is because my website's down for the moment, and they're not stopping us. Watch to see what happens to your website. Good luck, as my website's
Are you
down.
kidding? Are you kidding? My website slowed down. They are slowing our website down. I'm not kidding. So we're going to have those articles published today. And when we come back, Rick, let's talk about the video that's on the website and that we showed at the meetup on Monday. It's a really interesting description that Rick's going to have of water. We'll be right back. Rick Miller's with us. Rick, I just want to let you know we've gotten a lot of compliments on today's broadcast from all over the country. I can't get over how many people just say, keep it up, keep it up, don't back down.
Hang on, buddy. You're going to be my handler for Genesis.
Rick, structured water.
No, that's how it'll work. That's how it'll work.
Rick, we're talking
I just
about...
wrote another note. The guy asked me how to, let me get explicitly, and this is my email response. He said, wait a minute. Here it is. What is your favorite way to structure water? And I answered, begin with distilled water, then use both UV light and or electrolysis, a battery, to change the pH. It wants to be 8.4. This is your target for reducing the water needed from bone marrow. Then I say water is activated by light, photosynthesis. This is done by either a specific light source, UV band, or a battery, electrodes in water. You could even enhance it using deuterium, heavy water, found near Antarctica. That's why they're mining the water out there right now. By the way, that can easily be done using baking soda. Eliminating all carbohydrated drinks is essential because the pH is from 6.8 to 5.8. That requires your digestion to occur from bone marrow water, which is toxic to you. It's not as easy on your organs. That's why you have liver and kidney failures, where most of the water lies. pH is related to the easier memory process. This is Jerry Pollack's work, and I gave you a reference on that. And what I did was give you a small video to show you how sound, your words coming out of your mouth, affect water. And that's a grade school kid can get it. And once you've gotten it, that's where you start, is with the selection of the types of water you choose to take in. Once you do that, watch what happens next to your life path and ease of flowing into your purpose here on Earth.
Rick, you talked about heavy water. Are you talking about what was deuterium oxide?
Deuterium. That is correct. In fact, that's how Brown's gas works and cold fusion processes. They use an activated water using deuterium. It's water. It just has an extra electron. Oh, go figure. And with that said, it makes all the difference in terms of where the easy boundaries are formed. Easy boundaries are when it touches a surface, and you call it surface tension. It's called the turgor in the water itself. It sets up these layers of memory, and guess what activates it? Sunlight. It's the way it works. And Richard Feynman, he said, quote, when light, a photon of light, hits water, what it does, very simply, is that like likes like. And all the negative ions go up here, the free ions that Willard and Kerry Reams talked about, old man Willard talked about activated water, where the surface tension was higher. That's why you all like to be around a waterfall. It's activated water. When the water is flowing over itself, it tears electrons off, and you form another kind of water called H709 with a free radical ion. And guess what? You can do all of this with thought alone. That's why they call it your internal landscape. Water, your emotional body.
Rick, when you're talking about surface tension, you're talking about if you look sideways at a glass of water and you hold the...
it goes concave upwards. It wants to cling to the side and crawl up the water. Jerry Pollack, my lead when I was working military, has a new book out on that. Shows water going up the side of a beaker, across in a straight line to another beaker, and down the other side of the beaker. And guess what? The beakers are separated by 16 inches. That's a video online that shows you what we can do using high-end activation processes. And if you just start there, watch what happens to your health and ease of life right out of the gate.
So, Rick, to get to 8.4, let's talk about getting the pH to 8.4 when we come back the easy way. Really simple, very inexpensive. You can get water to come to 8.4, and you can bring this material with you everywhere you go. So if you happen to be at a restaurant and you want to bring your water to 8.4 pH, you can. We'll tell you exactly how to do it when we come back on the other side of this break. Dr. Richard Allen Miller, you can go to his website, oak-publishing.com, oak-publishing.com. Talking about the pH of water, and you said the ideal drinking pH would be 8.4, and you talked about starting with distilled water. Now, we can easily modify the water we drink and bring it to a pH up to pH of 8.4 by simply adding a simple household ingredient, right?
Yeah, baking soda. You know, that's what the SEALs did. That was part of our kit when we were in enemy territory and had to pay attention to our water. You know, it's three minutes for air, 3 days for water, and 3 weeks for food. When you go into a hostile land, you go in with your water covered before your food and rations. It's part of every ration kit was baking soda. And when I talk about baking soda, an 8-ounce glass of water, you can probably change the pH to close to 8.4 with just a pinch. It changes. That baking soda, because of the soda, causes the ions in the water to move differently. And because they move differently, you have just restructured it with the pH. Now, of course, holy water is blessed. That gets rid of damn vampires and causes demons to melt or whatever. That's just with thought alone.
So, class, to change the pH of water to make it 8.4, just a pinch of baking soda, a small amount of baking soda, common household baking soda, in a glass of 8 ounces of water. Rick, you mentioned carbohydrated drinks, and now,
well,
did you mean
pH starts at 6.8. It's below 7. That means it's acidic, and it goes down from there. And most of them, like Coca-Cola, are around 5.4. I mean, they're really bad. They're not even in the 6. They're 5.4, 5.8. That is extremely toxic. And while it doesn't give you indigestion and you like it, what it's doing on your stomach, you know, imagine what it's doing to the water in your bone marrow and what it has to do in order to then digest that Hershey burger or whatever you're eating.
Okay,
you know,
so class,
water is essential. It's a liver.
Yeah.
And on the article, I sent you pictures of these articles where the liver is, 86% water. That's where most of the water is in your liver. You have it in 99% of all cells, but in the liver, it's 86%. And so drinking alcohol, what do you think that's going to do to your liver? Blood, you're 83%. That's why the police monitor the amount of alcohol level that you have substituted for water. You know, it's possible that plasma can be used from seawater. That's because it's structured, and the rest of it is going to be the body adding cells to it from the bone marrow. And if you're drinking these waters, it takes that water out of the bone marrow, and guess what happens next? Your blood starts to go sideways. And after, 60 years of cirrhosis, there you are. Your food choices are next. You start with water.
Rick, you mentioned Coke has a pH of about 5.4. Now,
Pepsi, or the worst, Mountain Dew. They'll add some caffeine to boost it.
Yeah. Rick, the active ingredient in Coke is phosphoric acid, and its pH is about 2.8. Rick, it will dissolve a nail in about 4 days. It will dissolve class, the reason we're
the erosive power of water itself, when it's activated, can outdo acid by 1,000,000 times. That's why everything uses water, including the bacteria and molds on your body. And they're all activated with water. They all start with water, and you are no longer what you eat. You are whom you feed.
Rick, let's talk about that, the experiment that we show on the website, usaprepares.com, the link that you sent me.
You like that, did you? I know that opened your eyes to what the possibilities could be in terms of what we talk about as structured water with memory. That is, it all starts with sound. That's why the Bible talks about it. It wasn't heat, infrared. It wasn't ultraviolet, lightning flashes and whatever. It was sound. And you start there, and it goes in either direction. And that's how you set up the layering. That's why monks and priests in history used to take a drum of water and then practice their chant on the sound that would then create a cymatic form of sacred geometry. You start with sound, and it goes up or down from there. Actually, water in your laboratory is, in your home, is best activated with UV light. Sunlight works really, really, really good. A UV lamp works even better.
Rick, let's talk about that experiment where there's a speaker, a loudspeaker, like a stereo speaker.
Well, that's an interesting video. That'll get people to understand the physics of why I'm talking here. You start with basics like that. It's a simple high school experiment where the guy has water coming out of a tower going across the speaker, and then he has a little sine wave generator that he generates some sound with so that the speaker goes, sends sound through the water. And what happens next, and the way you have secondary codes where the water appears to be flowing upward as opposed to downward, that's very similar to the concept of a wheel on an automobile, where it appears to be going backwards, or a wagon train where there are spokes. That's because the structuring of the way your eye and that resonance with water. Now imagine that on a million levels, because water is very, very small and has millions of layers on it, and the way it programs what's going on.
So
let
me explain this. Rick, let me explain this so that the class can go watch this video. Class, it's a simple loudspeaker. Think of it as a woofer in a stereo system. And the person took a garden hose and taped it to the front of the speaker. And he set this frequency to operate at 24 cycles per second, very, very low in frequency. And when he turned on the faucet to let the water go through the garden hose across the speaker, what happened was the water came out of the garden hose, not flowing down by gravity, but it came out in a spiral. It literally came out in a spiral. And when the frequency was adjusted by just 1 cycle per second, it then had a bump on the spiral. And what it shows is that the water has at least a temporary memory as to reflect the sound that it just passed by. Absolutely fascinating. So if you want to watch that, it's at usaprepares.com, and you'll see it, page number 1. So, Rick, when I saw that, I was spellbound, and my immediate reaction was, the body's about 90% water.
No, it's 70. It's in 99% of all your cells, but it's only 70% approximately.
Okay, 70%.
It's the primary one. I would say that 10% of you is human, and that the rest of you is bacteria and water transport processes. You are a habitat.
Okay, so look, when we look at water, and we look at the percentage in the human body, and then we think about, okay, we go to a really loud rock concert where there's really loud music.
Heavy metal, that's what I'm talking about.
Well, does that, Rick, does that affect the body?
Yes. That's called the Mozart effect. That's a good concept, the Mozart effect. It uses music and certain kinds of music and the chord progressions like sevenths and working in terms of frequency bands absolutely exercises parts of the brain that are not being exercised in normal consciousness. And you are enthralled. You know it. You can feel it. There's something that makes you want to dance.
Okay, and how about
It's
sound as a
all
weapon?
metaphor. Trust me.
Rick, how about sound as a weapon? What about these sound cannons? Does that have the same
there
effect
you go.
on us?
Infrasound. That's how you can set up standing waves on the heart, cause ventricular fibrillation. That's a French weapon. Then there's synthetic telepathy, where you hear voices in your head. That's a different frequency band. All of it has to do with different grades and qualities and frequency bands of sound. That's why they chant across water. If they can get the chant correctly, to say the name of God correctly, that all of a sudden something else happens. That's why chanting was so important. Gregorian forms.
Rick, is that why we have sound as used as a torture device, a torture weapon?
Or we have the Mormon Tabernacle, where you listen to them sing and you can't stop. It's just incredible. Because it's all about sound. And whether it's bad or good, that's your belief systems. In fact, all of it is happening for a reason, and all of it leads to something better. Watch how that works.
Rick, I know a lot of people who have been in the construction trades for a long time, and none of them, I'm talking about framers and carpenters and people who lift heavy things and physically work hard. They're out in the hot sun. None of them, I've never seen one of them open a can of Coke, Pepsi, Mountain Dew. They will drink water.
Well, and you activate it with lemons. When I worked at Washington State University during the summers, what you did for a summer job is you work wheat, and the farmer would always have a bucket of not ice water, just normal temperature water. He put ice in it because it was 104 when we were working. Keep it at room temperature, and you activate it by throwing a bunch of lemons in it. That's the way I drank it. You'll notice I took my water when I was with you with no ice, and I put lemon in it. If you have some baking soda, you're good to go. What the lemon does, the citric acid, the very small, light amount of citric acid, not the heavy ones found in Coke, causes that water to become activated, and your body is able to assimilate it easier than if it goes straight to the bladder.
Water with lemon. Rick Miller, he doesn't use ice. I don't either. Rick Miller, oak-publishing.com. Oak-publishing. Dr. Richard Allen Miller's with us. We're talking about epigenetics. We're talking about structured water. Rick, I just uploaded a post to your website. So, class, if you'd like to purchase any of Dr. Richard Allen Miller's books, his website's down. He's been having a tough time with it. So we posted the link to get you right to his shopping cart, Oak Publishing. It's actually oak-publishing.com. And there's a link on our website at usaprepares.com. It says Richard Allen Miller, link to his books. And if you'd like, you can purchase them. Rick, you sold out at the expo. You sold all your books, right?
That was really cool. I didn't expect, and because I didn't have a printing before I came there, because the book is just out. I mean, I did a first printing in Australia, and I did 150 books, and they're gone. And so then when I got home, I was off to you, and we have some coming here, so I had to pack my suitcase, and I can only carry 50 pounds in each of the two suitcases. One got checked in. You know, my return, taking Matt's books, was 49.5 pounds. I couldn't believe it. I was right dead on by half a pound.
Hey, Rick, we've got a caller, Mark in Pennsylvania. You're on with Dr. Richard Allen Miller.
Hello, Vince. Hello, Dr. Miller. I haven't listened to your show. Okay, Rick. I haven't listened to your show in a while, Vince, and something told me today, listen to Vince's show, and here we go. Dr. Miller, you're a genius. This guy is so tapped in. Vince, I'm on the edge of my seat every time I listen to him talk, and it's not what he says so much. It's just, well, I mean, what he says is important, but just listening to you talk, Rick, your energy is so mellowing. It's so relaxing.
I was telling you, I use that number 8 flat iron skillet and meditate.
But Vince, I want to give you feedback. Quantity is not necessarily the answer. Quality, I agree with Rick about this. That I'd rather have, we need quality, not necessarily quantity. And I know my feedback to you is I think
supersizing something, huh?
My feedback to you, Vince, is that you're a very dedicated, impassioned person, man, in this whole matter. And but I would offer you that don't take it so personally if something doesn't work out like you think it's going to work out. And we got to let go of our ego on these things, because there's something greater at work here. It's about awakening people, and on the other side of this, break on through to the other side. And Rick know what I'm talking about.
I absolutely do. That's very cool that you got it.
We really are on the edge. We're on the precipice of great breakthroughs, but it happens individually. We can't force people. We can invite them, but we can't make them do it. They have to desire it. My sense of it is, but I sense that we're going to have tremendous breakthroughs, awakenings, and there's no way to hold it back. And anyway, I appreciate you, Vince, very much, and I'm doing what I can from afar. When it's meant to happen, I will meet you in person. I'll be able to be more interactive with you personally, but I'm doing what I can.
I'd like that, because I can sense in you that you're really a true seeker, and that is what it's about.
Mark,
well, you're
absolutely
Rick.
Right.
And thank you, Vince, for opening up a forum of possibility for people to challenge their minds and to invite them to conversation. And you're doing tremendous work, even though you may sense that your last expo was less than the previous one. So what? You're reaching people to the heart of the matter, to the people who really, really care and are really fired up, like Rick said. So I appreciate you very much, Vince.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It makes my heart glad. Chief George Dan, makes my heart glad.
So thanks again, Vince. All the great work you're doing, and it is reaching out to people in ways that you may not be apparent to you, but So thank you again.
Mark, thanks so much for being with us. I appreciate the call. Dr. Richard Allen Miller, thanks for being with us. And Rick and I decided that quality is the only way to go. So here we are with quality, and that's what the expos are going to be. That's what the broadcast is going to be. We're going to get deeper. We're going to get more information. We are not going to do survey courses. We're going deeper, and we're going to teach you more. We're going to expand our IQs, expand our memory, expand our knowledge, and we're not interested in quantity. We're interested in quality. Class, above all, honesty and integrity. What happens next is up to you. Hey, thanks so much, Rick.